let's talk about gold. I did a soft talk about this yesterday. It's time because the price of gold has gotten so absurd. It broke 4,300 the other day. Now it's down a little bit, but it's over the past year. It has gotten so absurd. It is going near vertical lately. And so I wanted to talk about gold. Now, obviously, about a year ago, I made a video about gold as I was putting my Nvidia stock that I sold. I put 15% of my net worth into gold about a year ago. And I'm gonna explain my reasoning very quickly, again, why I did that. And then I'm gonna talk more about what's been happening since and some of the new stuff. And we're also gonna watch a video that covers some of the thoughts on gold. But I have a couple graphs I wanna show you because I'm getting so many questions now. I get a lot of DMs about it. And I've been sort of, like I said, I've been shying away from talking about it because as it rises, I feel less comfortable talking about it because when I talk about it, people go, oh, I just bought a bunch of gold. And it's like, I hate people buying in at the top of anything. I get worried. I am generally a person that as things go vertical, I reduce my risk instead of, oh, I got to lean in more. I got to double dip. That's not how I think about things. None of this is financial advice, but I want to explain. I want to just give a little recap because I don't think, the Big A channel was a lot smaller when I made that video about gold. Here's the high level originally. The main thing on gold, it performs well in times of uncertainty. This is like geopolitical conflict. This is like inflation. This is like all that stuff, okay? That's always been true and not a major part of this factor here. Number two, gold is a hedge against inflation, as in it retains its purchasing power. Now, this is interesting because this is really important, and this wasn't even a major part of my original thesis, but like, what was it, a month ago, 2 months ago? Jerome Powell came out on stage and basically said, we're giving up the fight against inflation because the jobs market is more dangerous. That's what Jerome Powell said. Now, you'll notice since that conversation with Jerome Powell, gold has gone way more vertical. And that is because, like, if you really, really think about what Jerome Powell said in that conversation, it was like almost an admission that inflation is taking a back seat as a problem to fight. They're going to keep lowering interest rates. They're going to keep allowing more money to enter the economy, devaluing the dollar as a fight to stop employment from getting worse. And so that makes people's ears perk up, makes their risk go higher. But number three, and this is the main reason, this is why I actually bought gold. This is why, because I've heard all this shit before for a million years. People always say this. People say, oh my God, you got to buy gold and bury it in the backyard because the dollar's going to zero. They've said this for 40 years, whatever. And I never bought it and I've never been involved in it. But about a year ago, I made the decision that the risk reward was in my favor and I put money in gold, partly because of this stuff, but mainly because of the geopolitical situation after Russia. And I'm gonna explain it. And that's because, okay, here's the deal. When Russia invaded Ukraine, the US and the EU seized all of Russia's dollar reserves. They seized all of their foreign treasury holdings, this is two S's, okay? So they seized all their money. And this turned out to be a really big deal because it scared a lot of other central banks from holding so much of their money in US dollars. They now realized that if they ever got on the wrong side of the United States, which by the way, that time was under Biden, but like they're thinking of the future. If they're ever like a situation where the US wants to pressure them or thinks of them as an enemy, they could seize all of this collective wealth of their central bank. They could cut it off or freeze it. Now they didn't seize it, they froze it. They haven't actually done anything with it yet. They just froze it. They're thinking about seizing it and actually using it, but they froze it. So this line that was crossed at the beginning of the Ukraine-Russia war caused all the central banks around the world, all of them, not just like Russia and China, all of them, Japan, Brazil, India, European central bank, all the central banks around the world have started to buy more gold, and they started to buy it every month. And after a few months of that, I was like, okay, well, if I'm going to buy gold, I'm making a bet that this stuff will happen. But in the meantime, I'm going to have this nice bonus of these guys, of every central bank in the world, buying gold no matter what every month. That's a good win to have in my sales. Okay? That's the idea. If every central bank around the world is consistently, month after month, no matter what price it is, putting their reserves into gold, then that gave me the confidence to put a large amount of money in gold, okay? And so since then, this has only become more true. And I'm gonna show you the very important chart. This chart is the fucking key. This is foreign central bank reserves in gold versus US treasuries. Now, one thing you'll notice, this gold part goes back thousands of years. For basically all of human history, if you had a bank with a store of value, it's mostly held in gold. But starting around here, US treasuries were the highest ones, okay? And people talk about this period of history like it's forever. Like this would never end. This is just the default way of the world. Basically, you know, in the 90s till now, most countries held most of their reserves in US treasuries. It was the biggest thing. But now gold has rallied back and is just recently, after I made my bet, but originally passed US treasuries as the largest holding in central bank reserves. Just understand, like this is a larger macro thing where the rest of the world is de-risking a bit from holding everything in the US dollar. Because number one, it gives America a lot of power over you. And number two, the US can't stop spending money that it doesn't have. When you hold a lot of your money in US treasuries, you are essentially, you know, taking on some of the inflation that America exports when they overprint. You're kind of helping bankroll their overspending. And so people don't want to do that as much. Now, the dollar is still the reserve currency. You still want to have a lot of dollars, but they're de-risking. Now, what I want to say is all this can be true, and this could still be a pretty insane run up in gold that, you know, could be due for a real pullback. I mean, it's moving like 10% up in a week. The gold price is fucking crazy. But anyway, that's the background I wanted to give. And now I saw this in Australia. There's people like waiting in line in Australia to buy gold. This is a line for gold. I mean, it's like Costco's are selling it. Like, there's a lot of like weird shit that makes me nervous because once retail people are buying in at a crazy rate, it becomes even, you know, like the gold frenzy's gotten kind of big among Chinese regular people, like retail traders. And the Chinese government warned again. They were like, hey, quit speculating so much on gold. You know, I'm giving a nuanced perspective here, but I'm just explaining why that was that at a high level. Now, there's a video I think would be really interesting to watch right here. This explains what could happen next.
In October, gold extended its already furious run from last year and showed few signs of abating.
I just want to say, like, this is signaling something because the stock market is also at all-time highs. It's pretty rare, extremely rare, for gold to be rising so rapidly at the same time as the stock market is doing well, as like everything seemingly is doing well. That's not normal. Usually they kind of move in inverse of each other. Normally, if the stock market was doing super well and everything was good, the gold market would be doing poorly. But this is different. So it's signaling something.
But it's not just a gold rally. Look at silver. In October, it reached its highest price per ounce in more than 4 decades.
I want to pause here too. Look.
4 decades.
Look at that. I mean, it can fall just as quickly as it rises. Just to be clear, like during times of stress, this stuff can go really high up. But then if the system doesn't, if it stabilizes, if inflation gets under control, if all this shit could happen, it can fall, right? I just want you to understand. I want that to be super clear.
This gold line, because why would it be any other color, shows how much the metal has increased in value since January. The green line shows the dollar's depreciation over the same period.
Right. And just to be clear, if you're holding a stock that's only up 10%, then you really have had no gain because that's just the dollar depreciating by 10%. Like you have to be beating this line. You have to be going up more than this line is going down to actually be making real gains.
Faith and trust in the dollar is no longer what it once was. So you have investors looking at other assets.
People do that trade when they are losing their confidence in traditional government bonds and fiat currencies.
And in that situation,
again, the broad takeaway here is more than just the Ukraine-Russia thing. It's like people are losing faith in the dollar and there is no other currency they could go to. If there was, if the Chinese RMB was a truly useful reserve currency, which it's not because of all the capital controls that China puts on its money. But if it was, then maybe you wouldn't see so much gold. You would see shifting from like the way that the money shifted from the pound sterling to the US dollar. You would see more of that. But what I've been saying, and this was the argument I made to Eisman on the show, was like, well, if there is no better alternative than the dollar, but the dollar is scary because it's getting devalued and it's not good, people might go to gold. Central banks might go to gold. The world might go more to gold because they have no other good opportunity.
So the Federal Reserve has long been seen as kind of a bulwark of global financial stability. It has cherished independence from the political system in the US. Now, the pressure on the Fed from the White House and President Trump has thrown that whole dynamic.
Dude, I love this. This is so good.
Pressure on the Fed from the White House.
His face. This is such a funny clip. You might have seen it because we talked about it on the channel, but if you haven't seen it, it's him talking about cost overruns for this construction. And he's just lying. He's just lying about like other buildings that were already built. And he's calling him out in real time. And then he pulls out a paper that has like the itemized receipt on it. It shows it was so, I mean, it was great. It was a great clip.
Am I allowed to appoint myself at the Fed? I do a much better job than these people.
How sustainable is the
gold.
Fed's position given the position?
The beautiful thing about gold, really, for me, is that every time Trump does something truly insane economically, I can be upset as a countryman, but I can check my account and feel better. Whereas if I was holding something else in dollars, I would feel nervous.
A pivotal moment for the metal was in 2022, after Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine.
G7 countries.
You can say pre-watch, but my video on this is a year old. You can say pre-watch, but my video saying this exact thing is over a year old. Please go watch it, all right?
China in particular has been probably the most important central bank buying gold over the last couple of years. It's the biggest consumer of gold in the world. It's the biggest producer of gold in the world. Really, gold is a China story.
People's Bank.
And, you know, China, more than any other country, would of course have incredible incentive to not let the US have any financial leverage over them. China wants to own as few dollars as possible. Now, they can't get off, they still own very many US treasuries. It's almost impossible to get out from completely, but they have on net been buying less and less and buying more and more gold because they want to decouple. They want to make sure they don't have, you know, the US dollar is one of America's greatest weapons. It's one of the greatest ways they can put leverage on another country. China would very much like to be completely out from under that. And I think, you know, whether it happens slowly or it happens all at once or whether it happens over a long time, that's the direction of travel. China was never going to go back to buying a fuck ton more US treasuries. They're just not going to do it because they never want to have that situation. Whether they love Trump or hate Trump or like the next guy or don't like the next guy, they just don't want to ever have that level of dependence. And so I think there is a strong, you know, wind at your back in this case.
The dollar made up nearly 3/4 of the world's foreign exchange reserves in 2000, but its share has been slipping since then. Pressure on the Fed, with tariffs, inflation and sanctions in mind, it's prompted trading partners to look at the US and its currency in a different light.
By the way, everyone knows my stance on Trump, but I think this is an under-discussed thing that he has just made so horrendously worse. And so I want to really harp on. It's one thing I harp on a lot. I think this is going to be one of his worst, most damaging, long-term, hard-to-undo legacies. I think no matter who else you get in office after him, the trend line that he has rapidly accelerated is reducing one of the US's greatest and most powerful strengths. It's not like this never would have happened, though. I want to be clear. Like I was talking about this. I mean, I bought this fucking shit before he even got into office, before even the election. It's not that this wasn't going to happen. It's that he has accelerated it to a degree where we're going to feel the impacts much sooner in our lives rather than a slow, ponderous decoupling. He's like massively sped it up with the trade war stuff. But that is his only problem, right? MAGA? Yes, exactly. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm still a diehard Trump guy and everything else. It's just this one thing where I have to break ranks, you know? Obviously, I'm not, it's just one fault. Everyone's got one fault. His is completely ruining the United States' global financial power status. He could have reversed this by solidifying a trade bloc with the EU and Southeast Asia. He fucked everything up by turning all eyes against us. Well, I will say this. My opinions evolve as I learn more. One thing I talked about yesterday is like, that was my stance going in. He has basically done everything to fuck everything up. But, you know, other parties can fuck things up too. I feel like China's rare earth metal thing may have pushed a lot of these countries back towards the US, even when they didn't like Trump or his tariffs. I feel like Trump should have only tariffed China and tried to really focus hard to build alliances. And instead he did everything wrong and is being forced into that solution anyway. I feel like he checked every door. They were all wrong and ended up at the right door at the end. It's like larger things than him are almost forcing the hands of other countries into connection with the US. But it could have been so much better. I agree. But I will say that like the dependence on rare earth metals has scared a lot of, like Japan. Reading Japan's thing at the latest G7 meeting was like, oh damn, this freaked them out, the China rare earth metal ban.
Gold and to some degree Bitcoin, they are ways to express an opinion that the system itself is going to have some problems.
When it comes to haven assets, the gold standard remains, well, you know.
This
I'll
gold.
also give my take here. It's not that I don't see that argument, and maybe it'll be true. I'm certainly no expert on crypto, but my feeling is and always has been that if there was real problems, crypto would sell off just with the rest of them. It would be, people would not want to hold it. They would not have the stomach to hold it like a real reserve asset in tough times. They would sell it to try to get their hands on real money they can spend. So it would tank just like the NASDAQ or tank just like that's what I think. Could be wrong, but that's why I don't hold any.
A major de-escalation of Trump's tariffs or a peace deal between Russia and Ukraine could also spur a price decline.
This is absolutely true. Maybe I'll say more, but like if, for example, some crazy shit could happen. What if Jerome Powell holds rates steady or even raises them? The gold price would plummet that day. What if there is a big peace deal in Russia, Ukraine, and Russia gets its reserves back? That would slow things down a lot. That could really hit the gold price. A lot of good news could happen that would hit the gold price a lot. But then that's good news.
One thing it does have going for it is that the secular trends that have been supporting it over the last few years are still very much there.
It's clearly a very
like I said that. That's a perfect way of saying it. That's how I feel about gold. That's why I have a naturally, I don't know, my ears just perk up. I get like when things go vertical, when anything rallies really hard, I go, okay, wait a minute. Am I part of something weird here? Like, is this going to go wrong? And I always want to de-risk. But like the original 3 theses that I talked about when I bought the gold originally are the same. So I don't want to panic and freak the fuck out. This is like the reason I did it and it's still true. But also I hate when a lot of retail people are buying the same thing. So where would you de-risk? I mean, just for short term, I always buy 6 month treasuries or whatever, then think about it to find something else.
And I think as long as these really steep tensions do persist, then that clamor for safe haven assets such as gold is going to continue.
Interesting video. Very fucking interesting video. But I mean, let's see. Central banks, what percent? Dude, you know who owns the most gold? Indian households. Regular people in India. They own 25,000 metric tons of gold. 5 times more than what's stored in Fort Knox. Indian moms. God damn, they must be fucking crushing lately. This is a mom who says, I didn't buy any branded bags this year, like Prada. I chose gold instead. Yeah, that shit gets me nervous. That shit gets me nervous, bro. Why is retail buys a bad sign? It's not really a bad sign, bro. It's not a good or a bad sign. It just, historically, it's associated with mania or frenzy or things getting too far ahead of itself, you know? People in general are stupid, and so a lot of them, if they all start thinking the same thing, it makes me question why I think that thing. They could be right, they could be wrong. I'm not gonna freak the fuck out. I'm just thinking about it more. That's how I accepted the flat earth theory. Hey, fair enough. Hey, touche.